Hey, what's up, everybody? Time for another game theory video. Remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel. If you can, I appreciate it. Thanks. Super chat, PayPal, Patreon, super like the video, whatever, if you want to. I appreciate it. Thanks. Today, talking more about these nerdy conversations about how I would change Street Fighter, adding unique moves in. And to this video, I really want to focus on, can you actually create a new meta of fighting games, 2D games specifically, that have not been done before, right? Can you actually create new interactions, right? And I've also talked about before that when you create a game, you need to have a director, and I guess I'm going to be glazing myself, right? We all glaze ourselves. We probably the first time you've ever glazed, you glazed yourself inevitably. Don't admit it, you've glazed yourself before. But I've talked about before how you need to have a director that can like pick the good ideas out from the bad ideas and actually nourish and nurture those ideas, right? And because I say that because it's not that there's no new good ideas in fighting games. There are still good ideas, but they just aren't nourished properly, right? And I think some of the stuff that I've showed before and how I would change not just Street Fighter, but other fighting games, I've showed that I can still come up with good ideas, right? And I want to talk about this one idea that this guy had that he had for Rolento, right? And I think this is a good example of an idea that needs that nourishment, because this is something, I think he wrote this, 8 months ago. There it is, because I just took the screenshot. This is a good example of there is an idea there that I think is a good idea, but it's just not thought out well, right? It just is. It's a little too convoluted. It doesn't work. And the basic idea is trying to put a meta on. And actually, I really like the idea. And if someone came to me with this idea, I would be like, let's make it work, or let's at least let's try it, right? And the idea is, how can you give something to make Rolento unique, something, a new spin on fighting games, make it so you can't throw him because he's pulled the plugs or the pins on his grenades, and if you try to throw Rolento, the other guy blows up, or you both blow up, right? In his idea, right? And so for what it is, you can read it. I like just the idea of Rolento cannot be thrown. The other stuff he talks about, it's just too convoluted. It doesn't make any sense, because if there's an animation when he like triggers this EX move or super, why would you try to throw him? And then it's a time limit anyway. You would just wait it out most likely, because then he automatically throws a bomb, if you don't throw him between then. So too convoluted. Doesn't make any sense, but just the idea, and I've talked about this before, some dudes can't even come up with an idea. So I appreciate this idea, Dominus Maximus, and that's what we're going to talk about, right? So if I was doing something like this, again, the basic idea is we want to throw a new spin on what fighting games can be, right? When we think about hitting the guy, they're getting hit out of a move, there's high, low, and there's throw. But Rolento could potentially put a spin on a fighting game that you can't throw him if he has wasted some kind of meter. I don't like the idea of both Rolento and the other guy blowing up. I don't think we need that. But how I would do this, and this is what I would tell my team if I was making the game, because I do like this idea and I would try to make it work, is first of all, it cannot have a startup animation. Because again, if it has a startup animation, why would you throw him? There's got to be no time limit either. I don't think there should be a time limit. I think it should be a invisible quotation marks command that has no animation that you don't see. It could be, I don't know, Jesus Christ, it could be, where are we? Could be a quarter circle forward, I don't know, punch and kick at the same time, or down, down, down 3 times, whatever it is, in some kind of motion. But you don't actually see an animation for this. But there is a caveat, right? When you do this, if it costs an EX bar, guess what? Once you use the EX bar for this, it sort of programs in the game and it locks you out of using any other of your EX moves. You can't use anything else. If it costs a super, whatever motion you do, it locks you out of doing the super. Now, the opponent doesn't know this, but you need to suffer some sort of consequence for activating such a meta-changing sort of thing, right? Because so say we only charged up to a level 1. So now I input this invisible animation. So now the other guy, again, let's turn that off. That was a Facebook message. So if we input the command or whatever like this, even though I might have supers available, I can't actually use the supers. I cannot use any meter because I've activated this command. So I'd only be able to use my EX bar. Or vice versa. If it's an EX move, I no longer have the ability to use any EX bar whatsoever until this actually triggers. And so what would happen if the guy actually tries to throw me, I would have it that so say the guy blows up. Guy blows up for trying to throw you, and say Rolento, man, you know, Rolento has the that's my Rolento expression where he roly-polies away like that. He rolls away because he pulled the pin and the guy tries to throw you and he blows up and then this guy flies away, right? And he gets hit by this move. I wouldn't have it do a lot of damage or anything like that because it's an automatic throw tech that just damages the guy in some sort of way, right? It might be, you could even say maybe it only does a pixel. Maybe it only does 1% life or something like that. But the guy blows up. And when Rolento is like, that's my Rolento expression. Don't make me don't make me do the Rolento voice. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Anyway, but whatever. Then the guy blows up and he flies away or something like that. And Rolento can cancel this rollback animation with any of his special moves. So maybe he wants to do down up and he jumps at the guy and then he tags the guy with the fierce or something like that, or a jab. And then the guy resets, right? And so say you only got like 5% life off of it. 10% life off of it max. I mean, maybe if it was an EX move and then you had super or something like that, you know, then maybe that might be kind of, you know, shenanigans or something like that. Because then who knows, maybe you could actually get potentially good life off of it. That's why I say I would be, you know, I would actually want to work this out to see just how broken it is. Because what if Rolento saves too much and then he can cancel stuff to cancel stuff? But the thing is, it has to be hidden. It has to be a secret. But I would love that to try to make an idea like this work, that Rolento for some sort of meter gets a invisible, I automatically tech the throw for free, and you actually take, even if it's only 1% damage. And even if I juggle you and you only get like 5% if you're able to get a juggle off of that. I think that's actually super interesting. And again, there is a cost because it automatically locks you out of your meter. Now, the opponent might not know. They might not know, right? And that's part of the guessing game because that's how it should be, I think, right? Now you might say, what would a 360 character do? Would it actually tech a big Zangief 360? I don't know if it would do that, but again, that's why I say this is something that I would actually love to test because this is like a meta-changing thing. That this is a perspective that is not in other fighting games right now, right? I think that's really cool. Again, how much damage would it do? I don't know. But I like the idea of, again, I don't like the time limit thing because, and especially when I don't like the idea of there's like an animation when he does it and then there's a time limit counting down and then he automatically throws it. That makes no sense to me because then you know it's coming. So it's like you just wasted your meter. But the idea that Rolento, if he has some kind of meter, he could have inputted some command and then Rolento, he's jumping off the wall. He's rolling away and all this kind of stuff. And you're trying to kill him. And then randomly you're like, oh, finally he blocked all my highs and lows. But then I tried to throw him and boom, I blow up and I fly away. That's actually really cool. Now, again, when I think about that, that is a little bit of could be a potential conundrum. Because then you might think, well, again, especially if we're thinking about a 360 character where they rely on throws more so, if we're to think that it only costed an EX bar, then every time Rolento maybe has even one EX bar, or even he starts the first match, you know, oh, I popped the EX bar. Oh, then the guy blew up. Well, I can pop another invisible EX bar. Oh, then I can do another. So it's like, then you could never throw him. So that's why I think that maybe you might need to do something like it actually does take a super bar. So then you might, since it takes a super, maybe the bomb should just do 5% straight up. And then you could maybe jump in, hit the guy with something 10%. Whatever the case is, this is a cool idea. This is an example to me where you need to have like a director, again, I'm glazing myself, that is able to pick out good ideas from like bad ideas, or at least give something sort of nurtured, right? Because this is actually a cool idea. And I would like to see if something like this could work. It almost kind of seems like a fucking, like a fucking V skill or something like that, like a Street Fighter 5. It almost makes me think of like a something like a Street Fighter 5 V skill or something like that, where if this was Street Fighter 5, one of Rolento's V skills is boom, he pulls some of the pins, and that means for the entire time that that V skill is going down, Rolento cannot be thrown by anything, because if you try to throw him, the bombs actually come out. Like when I read that guy's idea, that actually seems like more of like a Street Fighter 5 thing almost. Like, oh, V trigger, V skill, whatever it is. I pop my thing, and then my V skill, whatever meter, is slowly trickling down throughout the rest of the match, whatever like that. And I can't be thrown while you're waiting for it to finally go down. And then once it goes down, Rolento then has the option as another special move to then finally just throw those bombs. Like if this was Street Fighter 5, that's how I would implement something like that, right? So wait for the meter to go down. Maybe it's 10, 20 seconds, something like that. 10, 20 seconds, Rolento can't be thrown whatsoever, whatever it is. And then once the time meter goes down, then Rolento, once you input the command again, he can throw it or some shit like that. So if I'm thinking about the way the guy wrote that idea, that seems like a V trigger kind of thing, or a V skill to me I would try to finagle with. But in a more sort of Street Fighter game like I'm talking about, this is how I would do it. But anyway, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel. I appreciate it. Thanks. The end.